Alrighty. So how'd that go? I don't know how that went for you. So let's talk about it, right? Because we know I gave you the command. This is a JavaScript line we need in order to save whatever's in my data by stringifying it before we put it, set an item called local storage, and the local storage called key is trip data. Okay, we know we've done it here by going to application and it's sitting there. We know by refreshing the page, it's here. We also, if you happen to test this out, we know that if I do another entry, when I refresh, it only has one. So think about it. Kind of gave you a hint there. Where would we want this line, right? Well, we could start by doing this. We could start by going to the event listener for the form submission right here. And right after we push the data into the object, we could just do that, right? Would that work? Let's see. If we ran the code, boom, we still have access. I'm going to stop the breakpoint. If we added, let's add one that's a little more clear that it's different. Okay. Oh, we do have it here. If we refresh, we still have it. That's awesome, right? Now, is that completely testing our app? And the answer is no. It's testing the form input, but remember, we also have a delete. Oh, what happened there? If I hit edit, it brings it in there. Oh, that's right. Okay, so does the edit work? Because it was 300. Okay, so the edit appears to work. Let's hit refresh. Okay. Huh. Why is the edit working? Because the edit is leaning on or has the code for the save. How about the delete? Refresh. Oh, see, the delete's not working. So where would we put that? Well, we'd go up and find that. So now we know we're going to need to duplicate this line several places. As soon as you know that, you should want to do what? Even if it's one line, you should want to write another function. Okay, function. Okay, save trip data. And that is all you need. You just need to run that line wherever your code is updating. And in this case, remember what we're doing, we're splicing, right? So we scroll through here. Oh yeah, we do it here. We do it here. Now this one kind of makes me wonder, but let's go ahead and, okay, because on the edit, we are splicing. Oh yeah, because on the edit, even though we're splicing, we're using the form in order to recreate the item, which is why we didn't have to do it on the edit, but we do want to do it on this one. Okay, so after we splice, we're going to call, right, what are we going to call? Save trip data here. And just to make it clean, let's go back down to the event listener here, right, and say save trip data. Now, let's see if our app is durable. And by the way, the things we're looking at, they're not, sometimes I call them edge cases, but there's actually, these are more logical issues in your program. But we're just making sure that once we change fundamental things, and of course you do this anytime you're programming, is you go back and you test to make sure everything's okay. So the first thing, I'm going to go over to local storage. I'm going to see, yeah, I have 3 items in my local storage, which is awesome. It's interesting, isn't it, that in the bottom here, it actually doesn't show them as strings like it does here. That's kind of a oddity. But let's say if I wanted to delete the first item, cool. And notice immediately it deleted it here, right? If I deleted the last item, immediately, and it re-rendered the page, which is so freaking cool. So now we have a CRUD app with local storage. And that really is what you want to be able to accomplish. Last week you all started the creating the decision application that has the CRUD operations. But now, right, we have achieved in code what you'll end up with once you get through that process. I may have said it, we'll probably be working on the your decision app for the rest of the semester. So really take a look at this code, right? So remember what we've done here is we've added 2 new functions, right? We've added the get trip data. We've added the save trip data. Even though it was one line, it still made sense to do it. It is important in this case that the get trip data is listed before this because it has to exist in the memory. Okay, and by the way, if we've talked a little about this, but when JavaScript goes through and in this case kind of on the fly compiles, not in the traditional sense of compiles, but it sets up the memory spaces, this has to be available to it. So that's why we have to put it above it. Okay, so and then what we did here as well is we figured out based on when we're updating, right? When we're splicing means we're removing items. Oh, I already passed it. When we're removing items here, and do you remember why we didn't have to do it here? Is because in this case, when we edit, right? When we hit it's splicing it, we're submitting it. Let's do that again to make sure, because maybe I'm wrong. Because why? Because on the event listener for the form, right? On the event listener for the form, it's saving the trip data. So when we're saving the trip data, and that's the other thing, we kind of tripped over it a little bit, not tripped over, we kind of jumped over it a little bit. But when we're saving here to local storage, when we're doing another save, it's just overwriting that again. Okay. So it's not like, it's just whenever you set item, if there's already a key with that value of trip data, it just then overwrites it. So you're never modifying what's in local storage. And that's important to understand. You're only modifying in this code, right? What you pull out of local storage and you have in volatile memory. That's why it's important every time you change it to put it in persistent data. Okay, so in your README file for this one, besides the code that you wrote, right, how well do you understand now the way we wrote code to make data persist? Is there still questions in your mind here? Right? Do you understand that the my data is setting in volatile memory and local storage, right, is non-volatile or what we call persistent? So I want you to at least give me a line or two how well that now makes or how clear that is for you. Okay, all right, time to move on to the next one. I'll give you a commit message on this one.